Hey guys, my name is Addison. I'm a software engineering manager. I'm also a tech entrepreneur. I'm here to help all the entrepreneurs be successful, build their technology solution in a great way, in a beautiful way, in a perfect way. So guys, I was this tech entrepreneur like multiple years ago. I'm trying to build my MVP and I failed. I failed multiple times. And eventually I got one success and building in a good way. I think I want to share with you guys if you're trying to build an MVP, and this is a video I specifically made for you, trying to help you avoid a lot of traps on the journey, trying to help you pick the perfect technical co-founder, pick the perfect vendor. You know, there are a lot of traps down the journey, and you are right now have the same questions, same difficulties as many years like the young version of Addison who is trying to figure out which is the best way to go. Then this video is specifically for you. So usually when people think about building MVP, you want to do it quick, you want to do it easy, you want to get some quick market feedbacks so you can move forward. But what my experience told me is that building MVP can be really dangerous. If you're holding the build it quick, build it dirty principle in your mind, usually it will lead to a big issue down the road. You'll probably have really bad customer feedback at the first bunch because your product sucks and the customer just say, hey, I won't use your product anymore because your MVP doesn't work at all, or your initial test with the market is successful. What leads down the road is you are trying to cope with the more traffic customer bring up and your product, your software can't cope with it. So it's a disaster. Or you just spend too much time, too much energy on your MVP and you didn't really pay much attention to the market, and eventually it leads to whatever you build, you spend 1 year, 1.5 year build, nobody gonna use it. So there are two typical traps, right? You build it too quick, too easy, or you build it too long, too slow. So how do we find the great balance is the topic we're gonna talk about today. So first of all, let's talk about what is MVP. So MVP is minimal viable product. It's a terminology in the entrepreneurship domain. Like people usually talk about, oh, have you tested out your MVP with the initial markets? Like how many customers signed up, what's the feedback, right? So people are talking about MVP all the time. So especially if you're in the tech entrepreneurship domain, MVP is like absolutely necessary. Every single investor, every single customer, every single employee you interact with, even in the recruiting process, people are gonna ask about, okay, can I try out your MVP or something? So MVP is extremely important. Let's talk about the first thing is you build your MVP too quick and too fast, too dirty. Let's use one of my own examples. So I was trying to build this MVP and I used one of the low-code, no-code solution. And at the beginning, I only thought, you know, at the beginning of the stage of your product, you didn't thought about all the marketing, all the markets could happen. So I built the product focused on North America. And what end up happening is no-code, low-code solution integrate pretty well with payment solution in United States or North America. But at the time, some customer traffic showed up in China, which leads to I need to build this back-end payment solution into my product from China, like Alipay or WeChat Pay, whatever, and it doesn't work. So a lot of customers, they are trying to pay me, you know, through the platform, but eventually it leads to kind of a disaster. So I only able to charge them like one by one, you know, through some really hacky way, you know, email, text, all that stuff. It just kind of messed up. And so guys, if you're building a product, and trust me, you can't think about all the potential situation, all the potential scenarios gonna happen after you launch the product. So if you're using the no-code, low-code solution, it's not a bad idea. I'm just saying there are cons, which is you potentially could not integrate your product with some other third-party tools as you want to, or some logistics or logics in your product, in your software you're trying to change, but you can't. So that's one limitation you need to think about. It's probably good for a quick, easy test. Like say you're building in 1 day and you give to one customer that you try it out and say, give you some feedback. That's a good way. But if you're literally trying to build more products and build more solution on top of your MVP, then it's not probably not a good way to go. So that's first, fast and dirty. Second way is using systematic way to build your product, basically a traditional way to build your MVP and build your product in a way that in the future, if you're adding more features to the product, you can just extend on the existing MVP. So you're probably in that route, what you should do probably just recruit a technical co-founder. That is also one of my experience. I had a technical co-founder before, and I think the hard way of doing this is everything sounds great, right? You have a full-time software engineer who probably really experienced and had a lot of experience in building like a SaaS solution, like app, so on and so forth, and you just gave out part of your company's share and this guy gonna build everything for you. It sounds pretty great, but let me talk about some cons about this route. It's the recruiting process extremely hard, especially if you don't have a lot of connections already in the tech industry, you don't know a lot of software engineers, and maybe you're kind of an introvert person who doesn't do a lot of social, and you don't have the technique or charisma of persuade somebody to join you bare hands and gave up their $500,000 job. So it could be really hard to find someone who is qualified at the same time, believing your vision and willing to join you to give up everything else, right? So that's the pain point of it. But building, if you could, guys, if you could find a technical founder who willing to build your MVP from the ground up, and they are pretty qualified, they are really good at what they're doing, then definitely go with that way. I 100% on that route with you. But if you can't, what should you do? So you probably start thinking, I should go with a contractor, right? You go to Upwork, all these outsourcing platforms, go with agency. And the hard part about this is if you're a founder with no technology, no technical background, then you will have the hardship of interviewing, right? You don't know who is more qualified agency. It's like shopping on Amazon. It's like shopping on Amazon, but without all the ratings, without all the sales record, so on and so forth, because usually agency and these independent contracts are really confidential about who they served, about their clients, what kind of clients they've served, because usually there's NDA in place. So if you go this route, the hard part is find the really qualified, good quality long-term partners to working on your project. Because another problem with the go as a contractor is in the later stage, they're probably gonna switch. You're gonna probably switch contractors because they are project based, and once they done your project, then they will move on to the next project. And in your case, what's going to happen is you need to find a different contractor working on the same code base somebody else developed. In software world, we usually call that shit code. It's like somebody who, in order to finish project as soon as possible, there's probably not a lot of good code practices, engineering practices, so on and so forth. So guys, please be careful when you're choosing vendors in that sense. If you need more help about choose vendors or talk to contractors or even interview them, I'm here to help. Just leave a comments down below. I can just reach out and we'll figure something out.